Newsflash, fancy people like pro wrestling too. So it makes sense that some people that walk the red carpet for a living also consume the content of the squared circle. Now, no shade to my boys, the Costco guys and the Rizzler. Pro wrestling really has no shortage of A-list talent. On this episode of The Countout, we look at the most interesting celebrity involvements in professional wrestling, including some wild cameos, and even a walk through the Hall of Shame celebrity wing. My name's Michael, and welcome to Suplex. RoboCop. Early 90s WCW was a weird and lawless place, so much so that there was only one man, or should I say cyborg, not want to come off as robophobic, fit to clean it up. In the year 1990, WCW ran a show called Capital Combat: The Return of RoboCop, a WCW event that was a promotional tie-in with the 1990 film RoboCop 2. And you'll never guess who showed up. Oh, said RoboCop. Yeah, it was Robo. I'm not sure who wrote the storyline, but I am sure the Hat Man must have been in the room. They decided RoboCop was going to save Sting by running off the Four Horsemen. Fun fact, this show also included a match where a young Undertaker, managed by Teddy Long, wrestled Johnny Ace, meaning going one-on-one with the Undertaker player goes back over 30 years. I digress. I just want to say thank goodness for RoboCop coming to the aid of Sting, saving him from the Four Horsemen, and I'm sure Sting learned a very valuable lesson, and he never trusted Ric Flair again. Raw guest host era. What do Jeremy Piven, Al Sharpton, and the guy from Napoleon Dynamite have in common? If you said they were all guest hosts of Monday Night Raw, you'd be correct. And if you came up with another answer, please put that in the comments below. I'm really interested in what you came up with. Thank you in advance. Raw was going through its SNL era in 2009 and 10, and each week a new celebrity guest host would join the show to be involved in different segments, interacting with WWE superstars. Now, in concept, this idea seems fun, but in practice, it was a clunky monkey's paw of an idea. For every Hugh Jackman going full Wolverine causing Dolph Ziggler to lose, we also got a Snooki from the Jersey Shore having a match at WrestleMania, causing Dolph Ziggler to lose. Dolph was really having a time. There's so many insane guest hosts during this time, we could have made an entire list just based off this era. So we're inducting the guest host era as a collection. We salute you, the likes of singer of sad mom music Jewel, daytime trash talk show host Jerry Springer, billionaire who looks like his wardrobe comes from Costco Mark Cuban, and last but certainly not least, the mind freaked Chris Angel. Are you ready? Mind freak, dude, he was so cool. As a kid, I was like, oh, that's what cool people look like. David Arquette. I can't think of anyone I want saving a small Arizona town from giant spiders more than a former WCW world champion. Enter David Arquette, who, and this is true, was a movie star from when I was a kid. In the year 2000, David starred in the critically received Ready to Rumble. If you want to know more about Ready to Rumble, let me know in the comments. I would love to do a smartened up on it, but just to get you up to speed, it's a movie about two wrestling fans who become a part of late 90s WCW by helping a former champion exact revenge on DDP. Anyways, back to David Arquette and WCW. Look, since there's no bad ideas in a pitch meeting, I'm not gonna name names here, but I'm sure the pitch meeting went something, bro, what if we gave the title to Arquette, bro? End quote. Bro. So in a fit of corporate synergy, it was decided David Arquette would become the world champion by pinning Eric Bischoff in a tag team match. Yeah, like I said, it was an odd time in WCW. Now, while the fan backlash ramped up on the early internet message boards, the story did give us cameos from Courtney Cox and Kurt Russell, so it wasn't all bad. In all honesty though, shout out to David Arquette. He really does love pro wrestling. So much so that in 2020, he released a documentary where he tries to make his return to pro wrestling after his acting work slows down. The dude wrestled Nick Gage, and if that's not for the love of the game, I don't know what is. Pete Rose is Major League Baseball's all-time hits leader and is also Kane's #1 op. Look, and I'm not sure where this beef started. Was it when Kane stole the 1970s Cincinnati Reds gimmick of the Big Red Machine? Or was it when Pete Rose burned down Kane's childhood home, framing Kane's older brother, The Undertaker? Who's to say? It's a real chicken or the egg situation. 1998 until 2010, Pete Rose would show up time to time in attempts to get the upper hand on the future mayor of Knox County. Unfortunately for Rose, The encounters usually ended with Charlie Hustle taking a tombstone piledriver from the former world champion. And one time he even got a stink face from Rikishi, who, thanks to this handy-dandy Samoan family tree, thanks Dwayne, I can confidently say is the Usos' father. I don't know if you know this, but Rikishi just means sumo wrestler. Like WWE habit of taking Samoan men, making them sumo wrestlers, and giving them like generic sumo names. Anyways, Pete Rose might have been banned from the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame for gambling on baseball. By the way, how's that FanDuel partnership working out, Manfred? At WrestleMania 20, Pete would be the first person inducted into WWE Hall of Fame celebrity. Suck it, Cooperstown. There's only one Hall of Fame that matters, and it's got Drew Carey in it too, baby. Pac-Man Jones. 2007 was a strange year for the United States. Sopranos had a weird ending that made people think they pulled a Halloween Havoc. Britney Spears did something that would make a big impact on a young Kyle Fletcher. And R-Truth was tag team champions with a professional football player by the name of Pac-Man Jones. Now, you may be asking yourself, Michael, why is that so weird? Well, the truth is I did leave out one tiny small detail about what was going on in Pac-Man Jones. Actively being investigated for a nightclub shooting that took place earlier that year. Early TNA was truly an unhinged time in pro wrestling. We had dwarfs pulling guns on Jeff Jarrett. We had Black Rain. And we had Pac-Man Jones getting a pinfall on Sting, who was teaming with Olympic gold medalist Kurt Angle. However, Pac-Man was not long for the wrestling business, as his shoot job, the Tennessee Titans, filed a restraining order on TNA. Lucky for TNA, the two came to an agreement that Pac-Man could continue to be a part of TNA, but he could not get physical. What did Jones do in his matches then? Well, he would do leapfrogs, he would dodge moves, and even one time he used a football as a weapon. Pac-Man Jones was replaced by a young Xavier Woods. Off-the-field antics actually earned him a parody character in Blitz the League called Pac Rat James. That was the football game where you were supposed to do bad. That's kind of why they made him. Dennis Rodman. Now, there are some celebrities out there that feel out of place in the world of professional wrestling, and there are others that feel tailor-made for. Dennis Rodman's size, his love of hair dye, and his sometimes seemingly odd antics off the court had made him a staple in the Attitude Era. So, of course, it seemed like a match made in heaven when the Worm joined the New World Order. Rodman fit seamlessly into the group whose motivation was to rule with an iron fist, which does in fact make a lot of sense with the company that Rodman keeps now. The storyline was huge at the time, culminating in the 1998 Bash at the Beach, where DDP would team up with another NBA All-Star, Karl Malone, and take on Hulk Hogan and Rodman. I'd have loved to have been a fly on the wall in this meeting. Hulkster out there, are you sure we can't get Larry Bird? Is he not available? What about Luke Longley? He plays for the Bulls. It's like the same. No, we can't get. All right, fine, Rodman. Donald Trump, past and future president of the United States, made this list, which I can't believe is a real statement I'm making for any pro wrestling list. That is, unless we're talking about Abraham Lincoln, who was credited with creating the chokeslam, by the way. Trump has been a lifelong wrestling fan, even sponsoring WrestleManias 4 and 5. 4 and 5, 45. Oh my God, it all makes sense. It was all connected. Follow the numbers, And in 2007, the former reality TV star and enjoyer of taco salads made it rain on the WWE Universe in anticipation of the Battle of the Billionaires, where Vince McMahon and Donald each chose a wrestler to battle it out to find out who had the right to keep their hair. Pro wrestling is an incredibly weird thing. And at WrestleMania 23 that same year, Bobby Lashley, representing Donald Trump, picked up the win and Vince's head was shaved. Trump would later on to become president twice. Shaquille O'Neal. Shaq has had a collection of odd jobs in his life. The man is currently Papa John. He's been a magical genie. It makes sense that he also spent some time in the professional wrestling ring as well. When you think about it, Shaq's the perfect non-wrestler wrestler. The man is over 7 feet tall, incredibly charismatic, and he could even rap. He's basically a ruthless aggression creator wrestler. Shaq has hosted Monday Night Raw. He's been an entrant in the Andre the Giant Battle Royal, and he even accompanied Hulk Hogan to the ring. Are we sure we can't get Larry Bird? In WCW. And in another fit of corporate synergy, the Inside the NBA host had a match on AEW's Dynamite. A team of Shaq and and Jade Cargill took on Cody Rhodes and Red Velvet, with Shaq going through 2 tables from the apron to the floor. Shaq's shown up on 3 different wrestling promotions. He is truly the Chris Jericho of celebrity wrestlers, paired with the fact that he is willing to do table spots. That gets Shaq on the list. Andy Kaufman. We end today's list with who I consider the most important celebrity in pro wrestling history. Andy Kaufman was a comedian and actor in the late 1970s and early 80s. Andy's brand of comedy would now be classified as absurdist. Famous shows from Andy saw him bring a sleeping bag on stage, napping through his entire set, where another would see him read the entire novel of The Great Gatsby, cover to cover, shushing people along the way who interrupted. So of course, the performance artist side of Andy was captivated by pro wrestling. So Andy did what any sane, rational person would do. Andy proclaimed himself the intergender wrestling champion of the world and would travel from wrestling show to wrestling show, having matches with local women from the crowd, offering a $1,000 cash prize to any woman who could pin him. And maybe Andy calling himself a champion was justified, as he never had to pay out the money, as he had a plant in the audience who would always be there to wrestle him as the local woman. Man, being in pro wrestling before camera phones must have just been really easy. You could have just done stuff like this and no one would ever have been the wiser. This created what is considered one of the first sports entertainment angles wrestling. Jerry the King Lawler, yep, that Jerry the King Lawler, challenged Andy to a match as he felt the comedian was making a mock sport of pro wrestling. It was on the primetime late night show Letterman, where the most famous work-shoot segment in professional wrestling ever happened. Jerry Lawler quite literally slapped Andy Kaufman out of his chair during an interview. The audience wasn't sure what to make of what was going on in front of them. They went from laughter, stunned silence. Kaufman returned with a profanity-laced tirade against the king of Memphis wrestling. And although it is theorized that Andy passed away in the 1980s, his spirit and Tony Clifton still live on. Check out the film Man on the Moon with Jim Carrey. He plays Andy, and 1980s Jerry Lawler is played by 1990s Jerry Lawler. Go to your way and check it out. Thank you for watching this and everything here at Suplex Media. Consider subscribing to the channel, and as always, please remember, pro wrestling is predetermined. Your life isn't. Go do something great today.